how to get the desires of your heart. How many of you has desires in your hearts? If you listed it down, what are those desires? Maybe you're here right now, you're a student. Your desire is, one day I want to finish my job. Oh no, I want to finish my studies, sorry. I'm going to land into a job that I desire. And then after, I'm going to have the very, luxurious salary. And then buy my house and have my family, have kids, and have the cars that I desire. And after save and then go to vacation. And then enjoy the life. Maybe those are the lists that you have in your heart. But the thing is, the main question is how to get there with that desire. Now, there are things, there's a lot of methods. If you go outside, people would tell you, oh, this is what you need to do, blah, blah, blah. But what is really the Bible saying? Getting what we desire according to the Bible, right? Because what matters is, you might have the desire, and it might be valid to the Word of God, but the way to get it is wrong, right? That's why we have to talk about this this morning. How to get the desire of our hearts is because it's very crucial and very important, really knowing what is really the ways of God to get what we desire. Because there's some people, they might get the desire, but God is out in their lives. You know what? And what's the end? Emptiness. I'm going to talk that one later. But we're going to read first from the Word of God. Am I in the... Okay, so I'm going to ask you to stand. Let's read this one, few verses from Psalms chapter 37. Psalms of David. It was David who wrote this one. Now, I'm going to explain to you because David was a shepherd and became king. He desired his heart, or God gave him the desire of his heart and more than he desired. So let's read this one. Do not fret because of the evildoers, nor be envious of the workers of iniquity, for they shall soon be cut down like grass, and wither as the green herbs. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and feed on His faithfulness.
Delight yourself also in the Lord, and He shall give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass.
He shall bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your justice as a noonday. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Do not fret because of him who prosper in his way, because of the man who brings wicked scheme to pass. Now, so you can sit down. Now, this morning, I'm going to talk about how to get there of what you desire in your heart. Because it's very important, very important for us to really understand what God designed for us, God's design for us to really walk according to His ways. Because we have our own ways. But the thing is, what is God's way so that we can walk to that ways that He designed for us? Because that way is always fulfilling. That way is always joyful. And at the end, you won't regret. Right? So let's talk about it. So motive is the root. Now, you might have desire, but did you ask, why I desire these things? Have you asked yourself, if I want that, why I want that? We should ask always a good question to get the right answer. Right? So, take a look at James chapter 4. Now, even when you ask, you don't get it because your motives are all wrong. That's what James was saying. You want only what will give you pleasure. That's what happened. The reason why James was saying you won't get it is because you have a wrong motive. Right? Now, that's why it's always good to ask ourselves, if I want that, why I want that? Because the why question really answers about your motive. Really brings out the motive behind the desire. So, James was saying here, hey, check your motive before you desire. Because if your desire may be good, but your motive is wrong, man, you end up not getting it. So let's move on. Now, ask yourself. Number one, you have to ask yourself. So, We all have desires in our hearts, but the bottom line is our motives. The why behind the desire is important. Why do we desire those? Always ask ourselves the why, because action follows the desire. Right? We have to always ask the why. Why I want that? Because you know what? Our action came from our motives. Our desire. That's why there's some people, yeah, they might have a good intention, good desire, but you know what? If they have a wrong motive, their action after is wrong. Right? Their action is wrong. So let's continue. So that's the number one we have asked. Now number two, we have to ask God. Right? We have to ask God. Take a look at this one. Psalms, it was David also. Put me on trial, Lord, and cross-examine me. Test my motives and my heart. You can always ask God, God, I want this, but what is it really in your mind? Is that not aware? You ask God, God, test me. Now, David was saying, put me in trial. It's like in the court, you know, cross-examining what's really in his heart. Is it good? David was branded by God. And man after God's very own heart. That's his brand. What is your brand? We don't want to be branded like, oh, that guy is a coward. Or that, you know saying, that guy is stingy, or that guy is a... We don't want those brands. David was branded a man after God's very own heart. Because you know what? The secret is this. Put me on trial, God. Like, check what's in my heart. Check what's going on here. You ask yourself first and ask God. Let's continue. So, wrong motive. So here's some reason, you know, why. Some people, you know, they want the desire of their hearts because of selfishness, pleasure. Like, I want that is because I want blah, blah, blah to enjoy. And that's a wrong motive. And maybe some people, pride. You know, they want those stuff or things or career is because they want to boast it and, you know, let people know that, oh, I'm like this. And there's some maybe, you know, revenge. They might have a bad experience in the past and, you know, they desire something is because they want to take revenge. Right? And then, yeah, it's true. We see it in a movie and through life story and popularity. They want to be famous. They want to be well known. And they want those desires because of that reason. And maybe some power. You know, if they would get that one, you know, they become powerful. Wrong motives. David is saying, God, put me on trial. And we should always ask ourselves, why I want those. Yeah, let's move this one quickly. So, how to get the desire of your heart? According to Psalms 37, like what I said, David came from the shepherd, came as a shepherd and became shepherd of Israel, became king. David didn't even desire to be king. He didn't even, that wild imagination didn't even came in to David's mind to be a king of Israel. But you know what? God poured out so much to him, more than what he desired. Here's the secret. It was David who wrote this one. Number one, we have to take a look at this. So, number one, trust in the Lord and do good. David, if you track down the deeds of David, he always trusts God. Now, every time he do something, he always inquire God. If you read Samuel, 1st, 2nd Samuel, you always notice that David, every time he do something in his life and either one, he always inquired God. He trusted God, not of his ability. Are you guys going to always do good? No, that's why even some people intentionally hurt him, like King Saul. He always tried to do good. Are you guys good? So number two, enjoy God. He said, delight in the Lord. You have to enjoy God first. Because you might have the things you wanted, you end up not enjoying those. Because you know why? God is not in your side. David said, enjoy God first. So, and then thirdly, commit your ways to God. We have different ways. But God's ways is always perfect and always good. Better than our. And then lastly, we got to talk rest in God. We got to talk this one quickly. How many of you are rested in God? We got to talk that one. Because rest in God and wait patiently. You know, this millennial generation, They're very impatient. They cannot wait. So we're going to talk that one later. So trust in the Lord and do good. Here's the thing. David said, trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and feed on His faithfulness. Trusting God comes from knowing Him. It's normal not to trust someone or something we don't know. It's true? Now, if you don't trust someone, if you don't know someone, you won't trust that guy. Now, trusting is really came from knowing something or knowing someone. Right? So, David knows God. That's why he is the one branded by God, a man after God's very own heart. What he wants is the heart of God. What he wants is the pleasure of God. He doesn't want to displease God. He wants always to honor God. That's his heart. That's why for him, really, trusting God is so important. It's because he knows God. That's why when he faced Goliath, he said, no. That's uncircumcised man will be dead because God is greater than him. Came from what? The trust came from knowing God. Right? So when you know someone, when you know something, you trust. How many, maybe some people, they know this, like let's say these stocks in the market. They know that this one is relevant, so they put their money because they trust. Right? And sometimes, end up losing their money. It happens, you know what I'm saying? Now, and also your trust, develop when you know someone. That's why very important. Knowing God is the key. Because trust follows after. Very good? Trust follows after. So let's move on. What is trusting God means? Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 to 6. Here's the trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean or not rely. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit. The son of David, Solomon, is the one who wrote this one. The passage that we talked about this morning is David who wrote the Psalms. Now this one, Solomon again, he mentioned this one, lean not on your own understanding. Solomon was the wisest man of the whole world. But he said, lean not on your own understanding. Because you know what? Solomon is the wisest man, but he knows that his wisdom has limitation. But he knows also that God's wisdom is limitless. Are you guys good? That's why we should not always trust or understand and then submit to Him. He will make your path straight. Some of the version, he said, God will level up your paths and make it straight. Like He will remove the blockade. So let's move on. Now, what does it mean trusting God? Take a look at trusting God. Even though you don't understand or it doesn't make sense. Right? You trust God, it doesn't really make sense. And I don't understand. But you know what? If God is telling you to do something, trust God, even if you don't understand. Even sometimes it doesn't make sense. Because for God, it makes sense. Right? Joseph, he doesn't know that the dream that he was dreaming is really God's plan for him. For him, the event that he experienced, go to the prison and, became slave in Egypt, it doesn't make sense. God, you have a plan, but it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? But he trusted God. He never complained. He always trusted God. That's why I'm telling you, if God is telling you something, do it and trust God. Right? Even it doesn't make sense, even you don't understand. And then, that's really what trusting is. And then, lean not on yourself. Our mind has limit in grasping what will happen. But God's mind is limitless. That's what Solomon is saying. He was the wisest man, but he always trusts God. Knowing that the mind of God is limitless. And then, submit, allowing God to interrupt and follow His detour for safe arrival. Hello? How many of you doesn't want interruption? No one? You want interruption in life? No. How many of you is eating your dinner, you cook it, and of course you love that dish that you cook, and you want to enjoy that food that you prepare. And then suddenly there's phone ring. What do? Shut it off. You don't want interruption. Because you want to enjoy your meal. Right? People right now doesn't want interruption in life. They don't want someone or events bother them. Because they want to move on to their ways. But you know what? Submitting is really allowing God to interrupt. Sometimes, we do something and say, God, hey, that's not what I wanted. Right? We've seen it in the Bible. Many times, Old Testament, New Testament. That God sometimes interrupts them because God's way is always perfect.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
God's way. And at the end, they don't understand, but they try to follow God. And at the end, they find in the conclusion like, God, your way is always better than ours. Is it good? Your ways is always better than ours. And then, of course, that's the result. Path straight, He will level and remove blockades along your path. Imagine, we cannot do that. Only God can. Right? Only God can. But you know what? This one is so important. It's so important. Let's move on. We're getting there. So why trusting God? Really, Isaiah 55 verse 9. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isa na namin? It was God who was saying, hey, you have to trust me. You know why? Because as far as the heavens higher than the earth, also my thoughts and my plan for you. Trusting God. Are you guys good? I feel so like hot here. Let's move on. So it may appear that our plan seems good, but we should always remember that God's plan is better and perfect.
Amen.
Very good?
Amen.
So sometimes, our plan is, it's good. But you know what? We should embrace God's plan because it's always better and perfect. Let's move on. So, enjoy God. Number 2, delight. So, delight yourselves in the Lord and He will give you the desire. That's why this is so if you see this one, it's progression. You trust God from knowing Him, and then after you enjoy Him. So, these are all progression. These are all progression. To delight ourselves in the Lord means to enjoy, to commune with Him, and to love being around Him, just as He does towards us. Hello? That's David's desire. He wants to be in God's side. Right? He always wants to be in God's side. That's why you have to enjoy God. Now, you might have a very good desire in your heart. But you know what? If you fail to enjoy God first right now, you might get that one. The desire of your heart, but at the end, you feel empty in your heart. Because the only fulfillment in life is when God is in your side. Right? That's the only fulfillment. There's a lot of people, testimony. Now, there's some people also goes riches because God pour out their blessing, those blessings. But you know what? It's a fulfillment. There's also a lot of testimony. They got the millions they wanted. At the end, it's still empty. Right? They try to improve the quality of life, quality of living. But you know what? They fail to improve the quality of life. There's a big difference in that. Quality of life is really when God is in your side and your family and the people around you is loving you. That's quality of life. Quality of living, yeah. Cars, comfort, microwaves, those are the things. And transport, enter fast. But you know what? For David, he enjoys God. Learn to enjoy God. And the promise is, He will give you the desire of your heart. So trusting, knowing God, you trust Him, and then you enjoy Him. Now see, you won't enjoy someone you don't trust. Right? Are you enjoying someone with you don't trust? Of course no. Of course not. Right? You only enjoy someone being with you when you trust Him. That's why it's a progression. So David said you have to enjoy God for you to get that desire. So emptiness. Without God in life, result to emptiness. We might get what we want, but we will miss what really matters. Without God, everything is like chasing the wind. And then with God, you have everything. With God, you have everything. Are you guys good? You have everything because He will fill the happiness that you're looking for in your heart. You might not have the things that you saw in your neighbor or someone else, but you know what? You can always manage to smile, showing your 20 teeth. Because God is with you, right? You know how to handle because you have the right perspective. Because when God is with you, He's strengthening you. As the song that we sang a while ago. You know, when we're in the presence of God, I'm weak, but you know, you make me strong. Are you guys good? Let's move on. So we're getting there. So what is really your desire? For David, here's the thing. One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek. Take a look at this one. That I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. What he wanted is in the presence of God. Because he found safety in the presence of God. He found the shelter. He found peace. There's a lot of people trying to kill David during those times. But you know what? For David, only in the presence of God, he found the peace that he wanted. Security. The provision also that he wanted. Are you guys good? I think you're here is because God is faithful. Is that an amen? Did God missing something in our needs? No, never. God didn't give what I desire. What I want. But God for sure gave what I need. You know? That's the so and then to gaze he said to gaze the beauty on the beauty of the Lord and to seek Him in His temple. That's the desire of David. And take a look at this. Which one is better? Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the tent of the wicked. See this one? David said, Lord, I want just one day in your presence, than 1,000 years, you know, and you is not being in my sight. Right? So that's why the first desire for David is really enjoying God. And you know what? When God sees that that's your desire to really enjoy Him, He will love to pour out more than what you ask. Because your heart is right. Imagine if God gave the blessing to David to be king and to all the wealth and everything, and then God is not in His side, it's still empty. And now God pour out the blessing is because David would truly handle the blessing that God pours out to him. Is that an amen? So that's the secret. And then this more. So number 3, commit yourself. Like what I said, it's a progression. You trust God because you know Him. And then after you enjoy because you trust Him. And then after you commit your ways. It means, God, I do this, but I want you to show me your ways. It means, let your will be done. There's one young girl praying for a future husband. God, thy will be done, but give me John. You get the point? It's not like that, right? That's not what I'm saying. You know, he really wanted John. You know, he really loved John. She really loved him. Committing your ways means letting God work in your life. Willing to embrace it when God changes the road. That's really committing is. You commit your ways. When God wanted to change, just go ahead. Sometimes, you know, we don't want changes. People doesn't want to changes. Because transition in life is always painful. That's why people hate changes. Right? You know, some people doesn't want to change job, or some people doesn't want to change the position they have. It's because they don't want changes. Transition is painful. Right? There's always pain. But you know what? For David, he always committed every ways that he does. It's because he knows that God is always have the best way. So everything falls down to really our relationship with God. So trusting God is not doing nothing. So there's some people saying, oh, I would trust God and He will give me the desire. I would enjoy God and He will. No. It's also about doing what God is asking us to do. Right? So take us to commit to the Lord. Whatever you do, it means you are also working hard. Right? You also work hard, and He will establish your plans. That's what Proverbs is saying here. So we plan and pursue our desires, but our responsibility to trust God and to help us fulfill in His ways. Because sometimes, you know, oh, this is what I wanted to do to fulfill my plan. But you know what? Sometimes God is going to some detour. And follow it. There's one guy back home. He was praying, God, give me a jeepney that I can, you know, pass it, a jeepney for passenger. That you say he can use it as a business to supply the needs of his family. That's what his prayer. And you know what? End up, he's having a frame time, but end up not having enough money. And you know what happened? He ended up buying a cow. So he bought a cow and then give it to the tenant, and after a while, years after years, became a lot of cows. And you know what happened? It's not just tricycle that he desired. God gave him the jeepney. And then after a while, he bought another one. And he bought another one. Before he said, I don't understand why. But now I understand that God has a better purpose. Right? That's what happened. So let's move on. So it's not really about doing that, but it's really working hard and let God, make His ways happen. And we have to always listen to God. So our plan versus God's plan. Now Proverbs 19 verse 21. Many are the plans in person's heart. Take a look at this one. But it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. You better not contradict God, because you might waste your years, your days in life. But if you go with the flow, go with the plan of God, you will learn to enjoy it. Joseph is the number. Every time I go with the account of Joseph, I always cry. I always cry. I read it many times, but I always cry because of his heart. He'd gone through a lot of painful things. But you know what? He always trusted God. And he counted those pains as a part of the plan of God in his life. Right? Sometimes, we have a desire and we try to avoid pains. We try to avoid the hurts. But you know what? Count it as a part of the plan of God. Like Joseph. And at the end, you will appreciate more. Like, God, I thank you for those pains. I thank you for those hurts. Right? It's because by those hurts and pain, I grow as a person you wanted me to be. Right? That's that. So, let's go. So, submission. May our prayers be like this. Lord, I commit my plans and ways to you. But if you have better plans and ways for my life, help me to see it and let me embrace it. Right? That's a kind of submission. Commit your ways to God. Saying, God, yeah, I want to do this. I have this plan. But you know what? If you have a better plan, I like that God. Right? That's a kind of submission. So, lastly, rest in God. Take a look at this. Rest in the Lord and what?
Wait. Patiently.
Maybe some of you would say, rest in the Lord, do not fret and you just try to escape the Lord. But you know what? David is like, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. It means you have plans, you have the time frame about that purpose and plan. But you know what? God has different timing for that plan. That's why David said, wait patiently for Him. You know what happened? God already anointed David, remember? Long time ago, before he became really king. He already, and then he has a chance to kill King Saul. How many times? Not just once. Second time. But you know what? He waited the timing of God. That's why he wrote this one, and wait patiently for Him. We're in the generation right now, nowadays, that you know what? Waiting is not funny. Hello? It is common nowadays that persons are so impatient in almost all things, such as people, they're impatient about people, slow internet, late bus, weather, or dreams, etc. Resting in God is waiting for God's timing. You see, the people who's waiting impatiently, they're not resting. They're not resting. If you notice that people is impatient into something, they're what? They're not resting. They are irritated. God doesn't want you to be irritated. Right? He wants you to be at peace. Just, God, I know that you have the right timing for this. Don't try to manipulate. David didn't try to manipulate just to get what he wanted. Right? Now, his bodyguard tried to make shortcut. Kill King Saul. and then declare David as a king. David said, no shortcut. Just go the timing of God. And the timing of God was perfect. Isa na namin? God's timing was perfect. Now, let's move on. Abraham. You're familiar with Abraham and Sarah? Sarah? Now, Abraham and Sarah became impatient for the promised son. That is why they made a shortcut by giving Hagar to Abraham and have a son. When we become impatient to the promises of God,